From the air, it looks like a mistake. A tiny smudge of color in the vast blue of the Caribbean Sea. This is Santa Cruz del Islote. It is an island off the coast of Colombia. It is famous for one simple, staggering fact. It is the most densely populated island on the face of the earth. Imagine a space the size of 2 soccer fields. Now imagine nearly 1,000 people living their entire lives within that space. That is the reality here. The island is not a resort or a tourist fantasy. It is a real living community where every inch of ground is claimed. The numbers are difficult to comprehend. The island covers just 1% of a square kilometer. Its official population hovers around 816 residents, though some say it is closer to 1,200 when everyone is home. This creates a population density that dwarfs places like Manhattan or Tokyo. There are no cars here. There are no roads wide enough for them anyway. There are no open parks or green spaces. Every available patch of land has been built upon. Houses are stacked one against the other, painted in bright, cheerful colors that defy the cramped conditions within. Life here is lived publicly, on display, and in constant contact with neighbors. The story of the island began over a century ago. Fishermen from the mainland were looking for a place to rest. They found this small coral islet. It had one major advantage over the surrounding islands. There were no mosquitoes. The lack of fresh water meant the insects could not breed. So they began to build simple shelters. Over generations, these temporary huts grew into permanent homes. Families expanded, and the community grew layer by layer. The island became a permanent settlement, a vibrant but incredibly congested home for generations of fishermen and their families. Today, Santa Cruz del Islote is a testament to human adaptability. It is a place where the concept of personal space has been completely redefined. The narrow alleyways that serve as streets are always full of people. Children play, adults chat, and vendors sell their goods. The sounds of life are constant. Music blares from open doorways, roosters crow, and the murmur of conversation never truly fades. It is a world away from the quiet solitude many people seek. For the people of Santa Cruz del Islote, this constant human presence is not a burden. It is simply the rhythm of home. Walking through Santa Cruz del Islote is an exercise in navigation. The streets are more like hallways than thoroughfares. They twist and turn between houses, sometimes narrowing to a point where only one person can pass at a time. To be alone here is a luxury that does not exist. From the moment you step out of your door, you are part of a moving, breathing crowd. Children dart past, chasing a soccer ball through the tight spaces. Neighbors sit on their doorsteps, their chairs practically blocking the path. You must greet everyone you pass, a constant and friendly acknowledgement of shared existence. The island has about 90 houses, a school, a small health clinic, and a few tiny shops. There's also a single restaurant that caters mostly to the tourists who visit for a few hours. Every building is squeezed together, their walls touching. Roofs often overlap, creating a patchwork canopy over the walkways below. The lack of space means life spills out into the open. People cook, wash clothes, and repair fishing nets in the slivers of space outside their homes. Privacy is a foreign concept. Everyone knows everyone else's business, not out of malice, but because it is impossible to ignore. This constant proximity forges a unique social fabric. On an island this small, you cannot afford to have enemies. Disputes are resolved quickly through conversation and community consensus. If a family needs help, neighbors are there in an instant. The entire island functions like one enormous extended family. When a child is born, the whole community celebrates. When someone is sick, everyone contributes what they can. This interdependence is not just a choice, it is a necessity for survival in such a close-knit environment. It is the glue that holds the island together. The sounds and smells of the island are overwhelming at first. The scent of frying fish from one home mixes with the loud vallenato music from another. A rooster crows from a rooftop coop, its call answered by another from across the alley. The shouts of children playing are a constant backdrop to the hum of daily life. For an outsider, it can feel chaotic and intense. But for the residents, it is the familiar soundtrack of their world. It is the sound of community, of life being lived at full volume, where the lines between one family and the next are beautifully and permanently blurred. The day on Santa Cruz del Islote begins before the sun rises. Fishermen are the first to stir, their quiet movements a signal that the island is waking up. They gather their nets and gear, their low voices a gentle start to the day's chorus. By sunrise, the narrow streets are already active. Children in school uniforms make their way to the island's small school, their laughter echoing between the tightly packed houses. Mothers begin their daily chores, washing clothes in basins outside their homes and preparing breakfast. The smell of coffee and arepas soon fills the air, mingling with the salt of the sea. As the morning progresses, the island's rhythm intensifies. Tourists from nearby hotels begin to arrive on small boats. They come to marvel at the island's density, to walk its crowded paths and take pictures. For a few hours, the population swells and the streets become even more congested. Residents have a complex relationship with these visitors. The tourist dollars are a vital source of income, but the constant stream of onlookers can feel intrusive. Still, the islanders are gracious hosts, answering questions and selling handmade souvenirs. They have learned to share their unique home with the curious world. In the afternoon, the heat of the Caribbean sun beats down. The pace of life slows for a short while. People seek shade in their homes or under the narrow overhangs of the roofs. The tourists depart, and the island returns to its residents. This is a time for rest, for conversation, for mending nets or preparing for the evening meal. The school day ends and the children spill back into the streets, their energy seemingly endless. They play games in the island's only open space, a small concrete plaza that serves as a soccer field, a community center, and a gathering spot all in one. As evening falls, the island takes on a different character. The setting sun paints the sky in brilliant colors, a beautiful backdrop to the humble homes. Families gather for dinner, the sounds of conversation and television drifting from open windows. Later, people congregate in the plaza or on their doorsteps. They share stories, play cards, and listen to music. The day ends as it began, with the community together. There is no retreat into private solitude. Life is a shared experience, from the first light of dawn until the last person goes to sleep, surrounded by the comforting sounds of their neighbors. Step inside a home on Santa Cruz del Islote, and the meaning of crowded becomes intensely personal. The houses are tiny, often consisting of just one or two small rooms. These compact spaces must serve every function for a large family. A single room might be a living room by day, a dining room at mealtimes, and a bedroom for multiple people at night. Furniture is sparse and functional. A small table, a few plastic chairs, and a television are common. There is no room for clutter or unnecessary possessions. Every object must have a purpose. Living arrangements are a masterclass in spatial efficiency. It is not uncommon for a family of 10 to share a single small room. At night, mattresses are unrolled and laid side by side on the floor, covering every available inch of space. During the day, they are rolled up and stored in a corner to make room for daily activities. Bunk beds are a prized possession, a clever way to stack sleeping spaces vertically. Children learn from a very young age to share everything, from their toys to their sleeping space. The concept of a private bedroom is a foreign luxury. Families have developed ingenious ways to adapt to the lack of space. Walls are covered with shelves to store clothes and household items. Hooks hang from the ceiling to keep things off the floor. The small outdoor space in front of the house, often just a doorstep, becomes an extension of the home. This is where cooking is often done on a small gas stove, where laundry is washed, and where people sit to catch a breeze. The line between inside and outside is fluid, a necessary adaptation to homes that can feel suffocatingly small, especially in the midday heat. For the residents, this is simply normal. They have known no other way of life. A young woman named Maria explained that she shares a room with her parents and 4 siblings. Sometimes you wish you had a little space for yourself, she admitted, but you are never lonely. If you have a problem, your family is right there. We are always together, and there is a comfort in that. Her words capture the fundamental trade-off of life on the island. The complete absence of privacy is exchanged for the constant presence of community and family support. One afternoon, a young man named Juan found himself in a difficult situation. He worked at one of the luxury resorts on a nearby island, which is, a common job for the young people of Santa Cruz del Islote. His shift ended late, and he rushed to the dock to catch the last ferry back home. But as he arrived, he saw the boat pulling away from the shore, just out of reach. A feeling of dread washed over him. Missing the ferry meant being stranded for the night, with no place to stay and no way to contact his family. He stood on the dock, watching the lights of his home get smaller in the distance. Back on the island, his mother, Elena, began to worry. Juan was always home by this time. The sun had set, and the usual evening routines were underway, but his absence was a noticeable gap in the family's small home. She walked to the edge of the island, peering into the darkness over the water. She asked her neighbors if they had seen Juan. Word spread quickly through the narrow alleyways. Within minutes, it seemed the entire community knew that Juan had not returned. Concern rippled through the island. In a place this small, one person's problem becomes everyone's problem. Without hesitation, a neighbor named Carlos, an older fisherman, sprang into action. He didn't ask for payment or wait to be persuaded, he simply understood. He walked to his small wooden boat, checked the fuel in his outboard motor and called out to Elena. "Don't worry," he said with a reassuring calm, "we will go and get him." Another young man who had overheard the commotion offered to go with him. Together they navigated their small boat through the dark waters, guided by the distant lights of the resort island. The community watched from the shore, a silent, supportive vigil. An hour later, Carlos's boat returned, with a very relieved Juan sitting in the bow. A small crowd was there to greet them. Elena hugged her son tightly, her relief was honestly palpable. She offered Carlos money for the fuel, but he waved it away. "We are neighbors," he said simply. "This is what we do." This single event illustrates the profound sense of collective responsibility that defines life on Santa Cruz del Islote. It is a place where you are never truly stranded or alone, because the community acts as a safety net, always ready to catch you. While the extreme crowding really defines the visual identity of Santa Cruz del Islote, it's actually not the most difficult challenge that residents face. The most pressing problem is one of basic resources, especially fresh water. You see, the island is a coral islet, not a landmass with natural springs or rivers. There's no source of fresh water on the island itself, and honestly, this simple fact dictates a huge part of daily life, creating a constant underlying struggle for survival. Every single drop of water for drinking, cooking, and washing has to be brought in from the outside, making it a precious and carefully managed commodity. The Colombian Navy delivers a supply of fresh water, but its visits can be infrequent and pretty unreliable. Sometimes weeks can pass between deliveries. When the Navy ship finally arrives, it's a major event. Residents rush to fill every available container, large plastic barrels, buckets, and jugs. These containers are stored inside or just outside their homes, taking up valuable space. The water must be carefully rationed to last until the next delivery. Each family knows exactly how much they can use per day. A long shower is, well, an unimaginable luxury. Every drop is conserved. When the Navy's supply runs low or is delayed, residents have to buy water from private vendors who transport it from the mainland. This creates a significant financial burden on families who already have very little income. Water becomes not just a necessity, but an expensive one. During dry spells, the cost can skyrocket, forcing families to make difficult choices between buying water and buying food. The irony of being surrounded by the immense Caribbean Sea, yet constantly struggling for just a few liters of fresh water, is not lost on the islanders. This daily struggle for water adds a layer of hardship to life that goes far beyond the inconveniences of crowded living. It affects hygiene, health, and the daily budget. The school sometimes has to close when its water tanks run dry. The small health clinic faces challenges in maintaining sanitary conditions. The lack of a consistent water supply is a constant source of stress and a major obstacle to improving the quality of life on the island. It's a relentless, invisible challenge that's far more daunting than the lack of personal space. The economy of Santa Cruz del Islote really rests on two main pillars: the age-old tradition of fishing and the modern necessity of tourism. For generations, the men of the island have been fishermen. They head out in small open boats, often for days at a time, to catch snapper grouper and lobster in the surrounding reefs. This work is difficult and dangerous. The sea is unpredictable and the financial returns are often meager. They sell their catch to mainland markets or to the luxury hotels on the nearby Mucura and Tintipan Islands. Fishing is more than just a job, it's their heritage and a source of deep cultural pride. However, in recent years, fishing has become less reliable. Overfishing in the region and changing ocean conditions have led to smaller catches. This has forced the community to look for other sources of income. The island's unique status as the world's most crowded has, ironically, become its most valuable asset. A steady stream of tourists pays a small fee to visit for an hour or two. They walk the narrow streets, take photos, and interact with the residents. This provides a crucial cash flow for the community, helping to pay for public services like the school and electricity. The tourist experience is carefully managed by the islanders themselves. Young residents act as guides, sharing the history of their home and answering questions. Small stalls sell snacks, drinks, and handmade crafts. There's even a small aquarium where visitors can pay to swim with nurse sharks in a pen. While some residents find the constant stream of visitors disruptive, most understand that it's an economic lifeline. The money earned from tourism helps to supplement the unpredictable income from fishing, and provides opportunities for those who don't want to work on the sea. This blend of old and new really defines the island's economic reality. The older generation still holds fast to the traditions of fishing, while the younger generation is more involved in the tourism sector. This shift creates a dynamic tension, but also a path forward. The community has learned to market its most unique feature, its incredible density, to ensure its survival. The money from tourism is invested back into the island, helping to maintain the generator that provides a few hours of electricity each evening and supporting the families who call this crowded speck of land home. Living in such close quarters has really forged a community spirit that is rare in the modern world. On Santa Cruz del Islote, the Western ideal of individualism just has no room to grow. Survival and well-being are collective endeavors. Neighbors are not just people who live next door, they're integral parts of each other's lives. When a family faces a crisis, whether it's a medical emergency or a financial hardship, the community rallies around them without a second thought. This deep sense of mutual reliance transforms the island from a collection of houses into a single, cohesive unit. This communal bond is visible in everyday interactions. Doors are rarely locked. Children wander freely from one house to another, cared for by whichever adult is nearby. If a mother needs to run an errand, she simply asks her neighbor to watch her children. If a family runs out of sugar or oil, they borrow from the house next door, knowing they'll return the favor later. This constant sharing and support system creates a powerful sense of security. People feel safe here, not because of police or locks, but because they are surrounded by people they know and trust. Of course, life in such close proximity isn't without its conflicts. Disagreements and gossip are inevitable when privacy is basically non-existent. However, the community has developed informal mechanisms for resolving disputes. Grudges can't be held for long when you must see the same person a dozen times a day. Problems are talked out, often with the help of community elders who act as informal mediators. The overarching need for social harmony outweighs individual pride. Forgiveness and tolerance are not just virtues, they're essential survival skills on the island. This powerful sense of belonging is perhaps the most defining feature of life on Santa Cruz del Islote. In a world where many people feel isolated and disconnected, the islanders experience the opposite extreme. They are woven into a tight social fabric from the day they are born. This connection provides emotional support, practical help, and a profound sense of identity. While outsiders may see only the physical constraints of the island, the residents experience the social freedom that comes from knowing you're part of something larger than yourself. Given the extreme crowding, the lack of basic services like running water, and the limited economic opportunities, a simple question comes up: why do people choose to stay on Santa Cruz del Islote? For many residents, the answer is simple and profound. This is their home. It's the only life they've ever known. Their families have lived here for generations, and their roots run deep into this tiny patch of coral and concrete. The idea of leaving the island is like leaving a part of themselves behind. The challenges are immense, but they're familiar. The pull of family and community is the strongest anchor. Leaving the island would mean leaving behind parents, siblings, cousins, and lifelong friends. It would mean trading a life of constant social interaction for the potential loneliness of a mainland city. A young fisherman named Luis summed it up perfectly. "I have been to Cartagena," he said. "It is big and loud, and you don't know anyone. Here, everyone is my family. If my boat engine breaks, someone will help me fix it. If I am sick, someone will bring me food. Where else can you find that?" There's also a deep love for the sea that surrounds them. Despite its dangers, the Caribbean is their backyard, their playground, and their provider. Children learn to swim before they can read. They learn to fish, to navigate the waters, and to respect the power of the ocean. This connection to the sea is a fundamental part of their identity. The freedom of the open water provides a stark contrast to the confinement of the island itself. It's a source of sustenance, adventure, and a sense of boundless possibility just beyond their crowded shores. Ultimately, people stay because Santa Cruz del Islote offers something that is increasingly rare in the world, a powerful and undeniable sense of belonging. Life is hard, but it is shared. The burdens are collective, but so are the joys. The islanders have traded personal space for a permanent place within a community. They have everything they need, not in terms of material wealth, but in human connection. For the 816 souls on this impossibly crowded island, the benefits of their tight-knit world far outweigh the reasons to leave. This is home.